They're free. So it looks like you can order them now, but this is Biden's new program. So go to covidtests, one word, .gov. And I heard this was supposed to start tomorrow, but you can get up to 4 tests, I think, per month or something. And you just put your name. It's free shipping, free everything. So they'll mail it to you. So go to covidtest.gov. And I think it's the Bionex, the ones on. We bought a few of them on Amazon. They were like $14 for 2, but now it's free. So if you want that, just go to covidtest.gov. These aren't going to be the PCR, but they're the rapid antigen at-home tests. But that's not bad.
That's good. I'll do that. I just need
Yeah.
something for when I come to my Friday meetings every other week.
Yeah.
I can do it on Thursday night or something and know if I'm good.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I wouldn't be embarrassed because I actually told Jeff, I said, oh, if we have a committee member who's coming from out of town, and he's like, oh yeah, just reach out to Mary Ellen, but I know that the supplies have been mixed. Hopefully they'll have some, or low. Hopefully they'll have some tomorrow because I like the PCR test. I've done 2 of them, so.
They
Yeah.
were testing all week. I don't know why they stopped testing on Fridays.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe staffing. I thought, yeah, maybe it's a staffing issue. I don't know. I know it's a few people to run the whole thing. I'm not sure. Yeah. But anyway, take advantage of that. And if anyone's watching the video today, you can go to covidtest.gov. And again, if you want to save these for others, because I don't know like how many they have and how much this is going to cost. The U.S. debt is in the trillions, right? So I'm sure COVID is not helping with our debt. But this is good because I think the way to get the pandemic under control is to get more testing and vaccinations and boosting. I know there'll be another message from Jeff. I think he mentioned this week about COVID stuff. There were a series of messages last week. So if you want any of that info, it's available. And I did, by the way, if you go to Canvas Commons, I updated just the page for the mask requirements because the old masking page just said you have to wear a mask. And I think it's important to let students know that now there are only 3 acceptable type of masks. The 3-layer surgical, I'll pull that page up in a second. I use this particular brand here, 3M 9205 Aura, AURA. They're really comfortable. I wear this like all day at work and 5-6 hours, and I don't feel any pain or anything. And then the third type is a KN95. So if you want that, just go to Canvas Commons. And if you type in LTCC for a keyword, I've noticed for me at least, they just come right up. But if you type in LTCC, it'll show you those modules I created. And then where's the most current? I just updated. It's the updated mask requirements here. And 7 people downloaded that. So that just has the new information. So it has both in Spanish and English the pertinent information about the type of masks. And as you scroll down, it just has the graphic from the college. So I think that's good to have.
How do you get that in your Canvas shell? How do you?
All you would do is, once you find it, just hit import or download. And then I have a ton of these, but you would just search for the class that you want. And then you would just click on that. I'm not going to do it. Click import, and it'll just appear in your class.
Done.
Yep. It's super easy. And in this case, it just appears as a page. So you could, go to your mask module or your student information module, and my stupid mouse keeps disconnecting, and import that in your class and put it where you want. And I know quite a few of you imported the student suites, like about 28 people did this one. Same deal when you import this into your class. It'll put it at the bottom of your modules, and then you could customize. If you don't want, information about Promise program, you could take that out or whatever. So I love Canvas Commons, and for me, it's the best place to share stuff because it's just so easy to go in, click import, and it just brings it into your class. So it's really pretty amazing, I think. And this is a sign of the resilience of people. When this pandemic started, there were like about 80,000 resources, and since the pandemic that's grown to over 200,000, so it's like almost tripled in size, because I just think people realize like you can pass it on and help others out in your community or outside by sharing a module or sharing a quiz you developed. And that's another side of this like open resource, zero textbook costs kind of thing that a lot of us are interested in. So I think it's really cool. I love it. I Not all the materials, like I was telling Justin, you could look for, say, a religion class or an audio production class, but sometimes it'll be K-12. It's of course everything, and so you just have to decide what you use. Have either of you found good stuff on Canvas Commons besides the LTCC stuff, or is it pretty no?
Tried looking for like videos,
Mhm.
actually last term for the class I taught previously, and
Yeah.
I really couldn't find anything. So
Mhm.
so I just use YouTube, and I try to find I only use like academic YouTube
Yeah.
channels, university departments that have videos, and I try to keep them quite short. Sometimes I'll use less than academic ones if it's like the most popular one on YouTube and it's well
Yeah.
done and it's accurate information. And I'll just use some of those, but I'll try to keep them quite short. But yeah, the ones I found on Commons, for me anyway, they weren't that good.
Well, this is showing sixth grade, so I'm really surprised so many are K-12.
Like you said,
Yeah.
for K to 12 or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that, or it was a full length like movie, which I just want them to watch a clip. I don't want them to watch a
Yeah. Yeah.
54-minute thing. So
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, and both of you teach kind of, I would say, specialized. I mean, I think, religion, theology, audio production, video production can be specialized, just like anthropology. And in this case, there's only one that I'm seeing related to anthropology of religion. So, yeah, it doesn't always have everything, but, it's worth a search. And if not, then go to the internet and find some other sources like YouTube or whatever you might use in your own work. So, yeah. Cool. Well, let's jump to the two technology topics. And I wanted to do this for the teaching talk because originally I was going to do a video and I thought we'll just do it live, record the video. And then part two can focus on the any technology issues you have, whether it's Zoom or Canvas or whatever. So there are sort of two scenarios I'm dealing with. The first of these relates to FERPA and trying to take a video and take out, redact student names or student images. So if you're curious about FERPA, I can send out, and I'll try to link it to the video of this talk today when I create it. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, and it basically says that student information, not unlike HIPAA as we know with medical information, is confidential. So for example, on the LTCC campus, certain people, based on their job title, only have access to student records. I remember in the old days, all faculty could log on to the grading system and we could see everyone's class, which seemed weird. So you could look at, another person's class and what grades they gave their students. And that was obviously not in compliance with FERPA. In today's day and age, I think we're familiar with it because what will happen is we create a video for a class, like let's say this quarter, Solange is teaching something, you do a workshop, and then as the students are coming in and sharing perspectives or talking, their images appear. And very typically, and I'll just do a screenshot, when we're doing, for most Zoom situations, let me just show you this image. You're going to see something like this. So all of us on the right-hand side have our images shown. So obviously in this case, that's perfectly fine because we're not covered or affected by FERPA. We're not students. But if you have your students here, let's say, then the next quarter you teach this class, that technically is a violation of FERPA. Now, I know it seems like kind of purist, like, well, is it really that big of a deal if, Javier knows that Sally is in the class, the next time that he's taking the class? Probably not, but, we do want to follow FERPA to make sure that we don't have situations where, students do know that others are taking a class or they see their names. So the scenario here is not like the one where you're teaching this quarter, let's say, you record that video. Every student that's in your class now is not covered under FERPA in the sense that the other students in that same class can see and know that those students are taking that class. For practical reasons, it would be impossible to hide. The only exception for this is our incarcerated student program, just because of the conditions of incarceration. I know they're going to actually remove all forms of student-to-student contact. For all other classes, DE, face-to-face, EVE, the law, if you will, Title V accreditation requires that there actually is contact between students. So as the students are interacting in your current class, of course, It's totally FERPA compliant. We want you to do that. It's a part of community. The issue comes up is, Justin's teaching the class here in the winter quarter. He's recorded these Zoom sessions like we're doing today. And then the next quarter, the students appear on there in the videos. And the issue is, how do you then redact or remove student images, student names? And so this came up with a faculty member recently, and so I just wanted to go through a couple ways to do that. And one thing you can look at initially is to go to your Zoom settings, and I did a screenshot because I think sometimes it doesn't show this during a screen share. So I always have, for every workshop I do on Zoom, I record every single video view. And that's just because if I want to, I can share the gallery view, the active speaker, and the shared screen. So one way you could get around this would be you could say not ever use the gallery view video when you bring that into your class, say through Canvas Studio, and instead you could just do shared screen. The disadvantage of that is you'll lose your avatar, you'll lose your image, and a lot of instructors, myself included, like to have that. So I think active speaker is fine for that. The issue is when one of your students starts talking, then all of a sudden they appear typically as a little video in the top right-hand corner, including their name. So you could certainly look at your settings starting off to just see what you want to record. A lot of you might just have active speaker, and that's maybe the only thing you record with the shared screen. If you check these three boxes, it gives you a series of video files. So when I go to my recordings tab, which I think will show up here on our shared screen, when I click on that, let's see here, if I click on this, then it will actually have a variety of files. And if I click download, it'll download all those files, and then I could decide which of those to bring into Canvas Studio to use in my class later. So the fixes I'll show you here, there I would say 3 fixes, and one of these is just to have me do it, which is fine. So for the faculty member who needed help, she sent me, or I actually went into her class, and she said, was this video for week 1, can you take out the student images? And it was very easy for me to do that, and all I did was I used a filter, and then because this is always in the same place, it's really predictable. So the nice thing about doing this is you don't have to do what's called masking. People that do video production often will mask a subject on the screen. So they'll just highlight, say, this box, and then do something to that, change the exposure, they'll apply a filter, whatever. In this case, if you want to do it on your own, it's really easy because it's actually always in one place. I'll just show you the way I do it. And again, for anyone out there watching this video, I'm very happy to do this because it's so easy. This is actually a video I'll share with you later about an audio fix, but I have it up here just to show you this filter. So all I do is I drag this sensor filter on top of the subject, and it's really cool. A lot of stuff in Final Cut, you can choose if you want to blur the person's face, and it's really easy. And to make it sure, like if someone's moving around or something like that and their head moves, then what I usually do is make the filter a little larger. And again, I can go in and choose from pixelation. I could choose, blur and some different methods. So this is very easy for me to do because typically all I do is I drag that onto the video, I export the video, and then what I'll do is I'll re-upload it for you inside of Canvas Studio, and I'll give it a name like, Solange Week 1 Video Fix or something. So I'm just offering that because actually for me to do it, it literally takes me maybe a minute to do this and to export the video. The longer thing is just uploading the Canvas Studio, because you may have discovered that I need a new mouse. My mouse keeps going out. You may have discovered Canvas Studio is really slow. So what I typically do is I just upload it to your Canvas Studio. I go make a cup of coffee or watch Netflix and come back and it's done. So I just want to offer that to everyone out there because I don't expect you to do all this if you don't have the time or you don't want to learn a new program. Final Cut, again, would be great, but if you don't know Final Cut and you don't want to buy it, don't use Final Cut. I've said in some other videos that Canvas Studio is not really good for video editing. You can actually do a video edit. It's really a pain. The analogy would be you're trying to tighten a lag bolt with needle nose pliers. You're struggling and struggling, and it takes you an hour to screw in that lag bolt when you need a wrench or whatever. So I don't recommend using Canvas Studio for any video production, edits, you can do it. It's really cumbersome. I wish they would change it. And before I get to the PowerPoint method, which is kind of easy actually, I will say if Zoom could do a FERPA thing, it would be amazing. What they could do, imagine that, you would have a setting and it would say download FERPA video, right? So that would be an option there. And all it would do is it would blur or redact or make black the screen anytime anyone but the host spoke. That would be amazing, right? Because then immediately your Zoom videos would have that FERPA. So maybe I'll reach out to Zoom and see if that's something they thought about, because I think that would be such a quick fix. This is the PowerPoint method, and actually it's super easy. So all of you have access to PowerPoint. If you don't have a copy and you want that, we have free Office 365 for all employees and students at the college and all community colleges. Be happy to send a link to you. This is actually super easy. Now, I just found a short video clip. It's COVID themed, just to show you this. So pretend that what we're trying to blur or redact is the sign. So when I play this video, you can see there's movement in the video, so it's actually a video. And by the way, anytime you want to bring a video into PowerPoint, you just open PowerPoint and you just drag it from your desktop and it pops the video right there in PowerPoint. And one of the cool things of PowerPoint that people don't realize is when you go to the export feature, you can choose. The typical ones would be, export it as a slideshow or PDF or a folder of TIFF or JPEG files. But the cool thing is you can download both as an MP4 and an MOV. Those are both movie file formats. So it's really weird because PowerPoint is like on all of our computers and we never think of it as a video production device, and actually it is. It's a good program for it if you want to do something quick like this. So this would be your FERPA fix. So we'll go to this and I'll take out that. So again, let's pretend this is a student's face that I want to blur out. All I do is I go to my Shapes tab and I click on a shape, and a square would be fairly easy. And then I can just drag that right there. If I wanted to, I can change the color of that. And I'm done, right? So all I do now, and let me just delete this one so it doesn't render this. Again, what I would do is I would bring my video in. It'll take, if it's a fairly large video file, like a 45-minute lecture, you might want to go get a cup of coffee because PowerPoint will export it here, but it'll take a bit. So all I do now is I've done my redaction. I go to my export, and I'm just going to choose my favorite format. I think MP4s and .mov will both be accepted by Canvas Studio. If one doesn't work, you could redo it in the other. I could adjust the quality here. Again, I would not put it on low quality. This is 19 by 1080. So that's around high definition. So I'll just hit export on that. And because this is a short clip, it should be fairly fast to do this. And I actually have a version of that has the blue redaction. And this is what it looks like. So again, you see the movement, and then that is now redacted. And again, what's going to happen when you do this with your class, it's not going to be in the middle of the screen. It's actually going to be then this corner right here. You would draw your square. And so if I wanted to redact Solange and Justin, I would draw the square there. Actually, let me just, as a sample, we'll just bring that. It's not a video file. Pretend this is our video file. And so then this is really easy because all I need to do is find my Shapes tab, and then I'll choose the square, and then I'm just going to do that. And I just prefer black because I think it kind of is like, easier to see or whatever. And then I'm done. I hit export, and then the final version, which is this one here you could see, is going to have the video playing, and then you'll have your subject redacted. So that's actually really easy, and it's not going to take you that long. Again, the steps will be drag your video in, do that square wherever you need to redact, hit the export. The longest thing is just uploading the file to Canvas Studio, and I don't know why. I just discovered that Canvas Studio is slow on uploads. If you want to do YouTube, for those of you that have YouTube channels, you could do the same thing, bring that in, and then the only thing you'd have to do is go back into your class wherever you use that video, the week 1 video, whatever it is, and do the update to make sure you have the new version. So that's kind of the FERPA, and I'll just open it for questions because I think PowerPoint is really underutilized for video. We don't think of it as a video tool, but it actually is. And it's so simple to use and it's free that I think you can't go wrong. But just to summarize that, for those of you out there who don't want to mess with it, just ask me. I'll do my quick 2-minute fix here. upload it to your Canvas Studio, and it's not going to take that long. And the other thing I can do for you is after I do one of these, let me know, did you like the result? And if you did, I can then go through the rest of your class and kind of get caught up for the whole quarter and redo your videos. And it shouldn't take me too long. If you have a lot of students coming in and out discussing and stuff, it could take me a little bit longer, so we could always talk about that and see if there's another solution. But that's the FERPA video fix I wanted to talk about. So any questions or issues you see with FERPA as you use videos like time and again in your next class?
It's only to be used when you're recording a lecture or recording a Eve class and you have the students on your screen.
Right. Yeah, because typically if you're doing a lecture, you wouldn't have students present for the lecture. Now, if for some reason you were showing something like a class activity where students participated and you had images of the students in your lecture, then you'd obviously want to blur those out. But yeah, typically it's going to be, you're doing a live Zoom class and you're having student interaction. Now, if students never interact, I did a lecture, I think I was telling you both last quarter for the Anthropology of Music. And other than at the very end where I said to students, do you have any questions? There wasn't a peep. In fact, some of them had their videos off. So in some cases, you don't have a lot of work to do maybe because the students, unfortunately, are not actively participating in your live discussion or live lecture, whatever that happens to be. So yeah, typically DE and Eve Zoom session like we're doing now. For a lecture, I doubt you would ever need to redact student images or names or faces. I just don't see how they would ever be used since it's not a live lecture or a live discussion. Yeah. So so that's a fix. Again, take advantage of that. I love the technology side of things. The next thing I'm going to show you is a new program I purchased, and I need to get reimbursed for it. But I think it's going to be really good for people to take advantage of this. So this next one is somewhat related and it's a little more involved. So the scenario here, and I'll actually play a video. It will be, I think, this one here. So it's an issue with audio. So you'll hear what this sounds like.
Hola, estoy haciendo este video porque algunos de ustedes, me imagino, se están preguntando.
And this is not to, by the way, this is not, I have so many horror stories about audio and video, and I have videos going back to when I first started a YouTube channel in the dark ages that has horrible, low definition video and bad audio. So believe me, I probably have more issues in old videos than any of you out there. But the issue came up, Kata said, is there something you could do with this? So in the case of fixing the scenario here, our second scenario is you have bad audio on a video. And in this particular case, it's actually a little more involved. And the reason it's more involved, and you would almost think, I'm going to take the censor filter off, that it'd be easier is you'd think, well, it's just fixing the audio. But the way that video works, you might know, is you have a separate audio and video track. So you can see the waveforms here. And actually, as I'm just going to turn the volume down, the case here, what probably happened was it's peaking. There's too much gain on the audio. And when you see the waveforms like this, you know that something typically is up. So the first thing I tried was I said, I'll just, take the audio down by, I don't know, so many decibels and see if that works. And unfortunately, it was still there. So the number one thing to do, from the beginning to avoid this, and again, this is not specific to anyone out there. I have made so many tech errors, it's not even funny. I still do to this day. But the issue is, from the beginning, try to get a good recording going. And what I recommend is whatever microphone you have set up, I always use my Blue microphone here. I run into my mixer. If you don't have that big setup, what you could do is get a USB microphone. That's always going to be better than the external mic on your desktop or your laptop. And then that way, from the beginning, you get really good audio. If you get good audio from the beginning, this isn't an issue. But if you have something priceless, if you were giving a lecture at a conference, you want to share that with your students, you can't go back and redo the lecture. In a couple of cases, I've actually told people, well, this is, if it's a short video, if it's 3 minutes, just re-record the video because it'll take us more time to try to fix this than to actually re-record the video. But the trick, as I was talking about earlier with this scenario, is you have a video and audio file. So you have to separate your audio file, and then you have to get this, to your computer. And then what I typically do, if it's a quick situation where I just want to fix something, and let's say I did a recording in my office and we have loud COVID fans in our office right now. If I wanted to do something like that, do a quick fix, what I could do is bring it into a free program like Audacity. Solange, I know your students use Audacity. Totally free to use. If you want to do anything quick, it's quite amazing. Just like the video filters, it has a series of audio filters. So what I could do with this is just go to a simple graphic equalization, because what happens is if your audio is the result of a hum, a fan, every motor or every device in your house is producing sound at a different frequency, and typically those are going to fall in the same kind of band of frequency. So, if it's a high frequency up here, like a cymbal or something, versus a kick drum at 40 hertz versus, 14,000 or 20,000 hertz up here, which kind of gets inaudible, I can actually go in and then just adjust the bands of the EQ that are creating the hum, render my audio file, and then as a result of that, I have a new audio file. The challenge, though, is you have to get your audio file and marry it back, if you will, with your video file. So you have to bring that in, and then there's a quick way to do this. And those of you that work with audio, and by the way, Solange is on the call today, so Solange at any time, Grammy, Oscar, Emmy, whatever, she's won all the awards, so I'm embarrassed to even talk about audio with Solange here. But what I do on this is I will line up my transients, right? And I will sync this and then re-render the video. So everything I just described, I think for most people out there is going to be way too much. You're not going to have the software to do that. So let me show you then what I can do for you. Again, I'm happy to do this. So iZotope makes really good audio correction software, and this one's fairly spendy. This was $4.99 for this, and that was actually at a discount. The typical price was $7.99, and I bought it because the legacy price or the sale price was ending, and I said I'm just going to buy it, and this is going to be really useful. So they have a variety of things where they can actually take out hums, DS, hisses, wind, and it's actually pretty amazing. So all you do is you take your file, and I think this was the one with the bad audio, and then you drag it in there, and then iZotope analyzes this, and there's a way. I just bought this. I'm trying to think where it is. I could choose any of these, but there's actually one setting, I can't find it right now, where it will analyze all of the audio and do all sorts of EQ and compression and level adjustment, loudness control and normalization, and then it'll pump out a new version of the audio. And if it's something simple like a lot of clicks, like you're doing a recording and something is clicking in the background, it does a great job with that. It can even match the ambiance. Like if you go and record a voiceover in your bathtub or in your shower, and you do a second recording in your office, it can actually match using artificial intelligence, like the ambiance of those two settings, and make them sound the same. It's mind-blowing. The other thing you can use, and again, I'm just saying, people use this. It's not necessarily something you would, it's fairly expensive, but there's artificial intelligence programs. So I reached out to a friend, actually, when Kata brought this forward. He does audio and video production, owns a company. And I said, hey, do you use any things? And he said, oh, I have, iZotope, and I use that. But he uses this. It's called audio.ai. And this is fairly remarkable. I'll play you the sample. So this is the before of a recording with restaurant chatter. Let's see here. Should be playing. I don't know why it's not playing. Okay, I don't hear the audio. It might be my audio setting. Well, anyway, if you want to look at it, it's quite amazing. Just imagine someone's talking, and there are all these like dishes and pans in the restaurant, and then the second version, all you hear is the person talking. So again, this is fairly high end. It's expensive. You could use this for free for 20 minutes, but 20 minutes of audio, that's like not even one lecture in some cases, so I wouldn't recommend that. So the option I'm offering to all of you is I'm happy to look at any of your video files that have really bad audio, I could see if I can do something with them. My friend was telling me, in some cases there's only so much you can do. So I'll show you the redo or let you hear it. It's an improvement, but it's not amazing.
Hola, estoy haciendo este video
So it's still
porque algunos de ustedes, me imagino, se están preguntando, pueden preguntarse por qué estos verbos son.
So it's a slight improvement. And so I shared this with Kata and I said, let me know what you think. I think it's a little bit better. I said, but it's still because it's somehow in your recording. And I told her it could have been her microphone, computer, or you could even have, in some cases, bad internet connection and you record a Zoom and you're going to get that sound almost like of the old AOL modem, that kind of sound. And so I basically said to her, I think a number of your videos are corrupted from the beginning. And based on what I have available and reaching out to some friends and experts, I said either you kind of go with the correction, which is maybe 1% or 2% better. But if you really want better audio and you're picky about it, re-record it. Or you could just leave it. And again, you say, I'll go with it because my students maybe won't care so much. And actually, in the case of her video, it's only at the very beginning. And then as you move along, it's not scratchy. And so I kind of just said to her, make a decision. You can be as much of a perfectionist with your audio and video as you want. But so for those of you watching, again, if you have an audio track, a lecture, or actually like if you did something in a field setting, I could pretty much fix that. Because again, if there's like wind sound, the iZotope program kills it, and it absolutely will pull it out, and you'll be amazed with the results. It can do most things. It just really won't be able to fix bad audio that was recorded as bad audio because of a computer setting, a microphone issue, or an internet setting. And it's the same thing. Like if I record anything here, a music track, and I'm peaking my audio, where my gain adjustment is too high, and I record that, there's maybe not so much I can do in post-production to fix that. So just as a tip, try to really deal with the good audio and video from the beginning by making sure you have, good quality audio recording, video recording. If you have questions, reach out to me. I could point you to some really cheap, like $20 USB microphones that will definitely be better than anything that I think you'll find on a computer. I will say I have the new iPhone, and the quality is really good. Even the speakers, I don't get it, but I'll play music on this sometimes and I'm amazed. So if you're using an iPhone, that probably is the exception. You can also get a voice recorder, and a voice recorder is also going to get you really good audio. And I know Sue Kloss said she just picked up one of these because she wanted to do audio only lectures. This will produce much better quality of narration, as will a phone, than your laptop or computer, because they just, I think, have loaded these up with pretty good audio, analog to digital converters, and microphones. They sound really good. So Solange, tell me other tips you have or things. Do you agree with me? Like if the audio is so bad, have you ever been in a film situation where they just re-recorded it instead of saying fix it in post-production?
They normally can't, because whatever the issue is continues to be the issue. So if you have a bad microphone, you'd have to replace the microphone. But in order to know that, you have to shoot the scene. And then in playbacks is when you discover that you've got this horrendous recording, and then you've got to do it again, and you're not going to get the same performance. So it's a really horrible situation to be in.
No, I tried again. That was the closest I got. Like I said, it was 1% better. So I kind of said, it's your call, use it. But I think if it's 2 minutes, I would re-record it. Just redo the whole thing. If it's an hour lecture,
Yeah, but you got to listen to it prior to recording, or, you got to do some kind of a review prior to the lecture. Because that would be unacceptable in a class.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is do a test. Like if you're using any new equipment, do a test run, record a minute of audio or video and then play it back. And if it sounds good, okay, I'll go with it. Because I've done that before where, true story, I went into the ISP office and I had my really good camera and I had my audio recorder, and I had forgotten to turn on I think it was my audio recorder. I literally recorded Shane and all the folks in ISP for like 8 hours. And the only audio I had was what was going to be my scratch track on my video to sync my good audio from this. I didn't turn it on. So I felt so stupid. So I said, Shane, I need to come back on Friday. He's like, why? I said, my audio is unusable. We have to redo. And it was hours of video because I did the whole staff in the office, like 5 videos with Shane. But it was fine. And again, I say all the time, I learn from my dumb tech mistakes and I do better the next time. So we've all done it. So it's not, don't feel bad about this because again, all of us have been there and done it, forgot to turn on the record button, whatever. But Solange is right. Check it from the beginning because if you have good audio and video from the start, and even if there's a hum, again, I've had hums in my room or fans going. That's really good to remove that if it's distracting for you. But the bad audio that is just starting from the beginning from an issue with your sound or your recording, it's almost, as Solange is saying, impossible. So maybe you just redo it. Yeah.
You can always get rid of hums and buzzes and stuff like that with iZotope. You can definitely remove that band, but that cackling, that breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
So the common thing that I experience is a motorcycle going by outside, and it's so loud. Yeah. And then you can always tell because you'll see me in the video leaning forward and talking louder to try to drown it out. But is that something that the program could also eliminate? Is like a engine kind of going by, or
it might?
Is that too like inconsistent for AI to pick up on?
We might. Yeah. We could try it. Yeah.
And you can try it, but
yeah, I'll let you know. But I usually just like lean forward because I can hear it coming. And I'll start talking louder and then I'll play it back and listen. And it usually sounds okay, but yeah.
That happens to me all the time here. I can never record any voiceovers on Saturdays because in our neighborhood, that's the mowing day. And my microphone will pick up the mowers. And then if it's a motorcycle or an airplane, I just wait, I pause. After it drives by, I restart the line. And again, I do the edit. But if you have, a clip, I'd be curious to see it. You could send it to me and I would just try it out, like to take out a motorcycle, see if it would do it. My friend, and actually I've been helping him. He does small independent films and I did the whole soundtrack for him. It was a really fun process. And he was telling me he shot this one scene. We both grew up in the same hometown in Northwest Indiana, and I know the area. And he said, oh, yeah, we shot this dialogue. And we had this house for the shoot, and it's next to the toll road. It's next to a train track. Airplanes, it's near, it's in the jet zone of O'Hare Airport in Chicago and Midway in Chicago. And he said we had to shoot there. So he used this Audio.ai, and he did the before and after. And it was pretty amazing. Like it sounds a little bit like the ambience of the audio isn't quite there. It doesn't, and I think he might have added some outdoor chirping of birds, but it's pretty amazing. He took out airplanes, a mower, a motorcycle. He said like every possible calamity happened with the audio when they were shooting this. But again, they had limited time. They had access to this house, so they had to use that audio, and they couldn't go and do dialogue replacement because they're on a limited budget. So they can't hire the bigwigs like Solange.
It is possible to over process your original dialogue. It is possible to do, if you do too many layers of fixes, you will compromise the actual dialogue itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think for this second issue, it's harder because I don't have anything for you because I think this PowerPoint fix for FERPA video is actually super easy and I think everyone could do it. This audio thing, again, because you have to separate your tracks, you have to get your video and your audio track separate, process the audio and marry those back together. That's really hard to do. There's nothing in Canvas Studio that will allow you to do that. So I guess my suggestion is, like Solange was getting at, make sure your audio from the beginning is really good. If not, if you have something you really want to fix, like the motorcycle sound, send it to me. I'll take a shot at it. Again, I love audio stuff, and iZotope is really fun just to play with. And we'll just see an experiment. The D-clicks are really good. I've done those. If you do a lot of clicking, you can have pop filters on your microphones, which help, your P, the sibilants, often are a pain in the ass. I do not know how those people who do Audible audiobooks do it, because that's so hard, to record something and make sure every line of dialogue is perfect. I think it's amazing, anyone that does film or audiobooks, because just to remember your lines and then not to, have your audio pop or whatever. It's just amazing that people can do this and have such great audio. So
The click and denoise is very popular.
those are easy.
Use all the time.
Yeah. So depending on what it is, reach out. Again, if you're watching the video, I would love to try the motorcycle thing, and I can experiment with a little bit. And again, this is a program I have now. I need to get reimbursed, but it's not something I have to renew. So it's fairly spendy, but it's really a great program, and I've enjoyed using it. When I do music tracks, I have another program that iZotope does called Neutron, and that goes through and, depending on the genre of music, will fix the high end, the low end, and make it sound nice and pristine. Because unlike Solange, I don't have a lot of patience for doing, it's such a fine level work and time consuming work that I just hate audio mastering, because I don't have the time and all the skills needed. So I don't know how you do it, Solange, but this is your life, right? So you love it.
Yes. It's my discipline. It's very, very,
Yeah.
very, very detailed.
Yeah.
So besides the stuff I mentioned, Solange, can you think of anything easy, like a PowerPoint thing, to fix bad audio? Because I can't think of anything out there that would do it.
No, isotope is the way to go. And
Yeah,
I think
so-
I think you're on the right track. You were definitely on the right track.
Okay. So yeah, again, do good audio from the beginning. Try to, reach out to me if you have something. I'll give you an honest opinion and say, I think I can fix it. I can share the result in either of these cases with FERPA or bad audio. And then if not, if it's a short clip, just re-record it. I've done this all the time, where there was something I did yesterday. I forgot to have one channel of my mixer on. I had to re-record it, So I couldn't sync the video and try to have my audio in time and try to re-record over it. So I do this all the time. I just make a mistake and I re-record it. So it's fine. So let's jump into part 3 then. Technology questions, issues you have with anything that is happening in your technology teaching worlds right now that you need help with, or questions, concerns.
I have a MP4
Mhm.
project that I would like to import all the different scenes and takes. I have them as MP4s with audio. It's a movie. It's a
Okay.
short. Okay. And
Yeah.
the short I have all of the original scenes
Mhm.
and takes that I need to import or distribute to my students. And
Yep.
last spring quarter, it was, I think I had to use Dropbox. Is there a way to use Canvas to deliver?
Yeah.
What I would do is, yeah, totally. This would be much easier than Dropbox. Go to Canvas Studio, create a new collection, and call it Shorts. And then you'll see just an empty thing here. And then all you're going to do, this is a short video, you'll upload your video. And this should be pretty quick. It's only a couple megabytes. It's that COVID video. And then all you're going to do is, once this is done, you can share. You know what? I wonder if you can share the whole. Oh, you can share the entire collection. There you go. That's what you'll do. You'll share the collection.
Canvas collections.
Yep. So yeah, you go to Canvas Studio. Your login at the left. And then what I recommend is you create that new collection. And that's up at the top, create collection. I called it Shorts. And then just click View. I was going to tell you to share each video, because you can always share each video by clicking here, and you get a share link. And what you would do then is add your entire class. And I think it should have the entire class. I don't have an active class, but you would either click View or Edit. I don't think they're going to edit. So I'd click View. Or you could do it as a link if you wanted to, create a public link. But I would try this first, because that'll be instant access. It should allow you to share with the whole class. If it doesn't, if you have a small enough class, you would type each name. But I would check first to see if it'll allow you to share by your class. I haven't tried that yet. And I would do it at the... Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say I would do it at the collection level. So all your videos you'll upload to here, and then right-hand corner at the top, share collection. And then the entire collection will be shared with people.
Will they be able to download it to be able to be edited on Premiere Pro?
I believe, yes, they will, because I had a student who recently sent me his project via Canvas Studio, and I was able to download it to my computer. If that's not the case, get back to me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it will. I'm trying to think of what the format is here. If I had a really short, this is a short video. Let's try this one. So what I would do here, I would click download. And this should tell us what format, if it's an MP4, that Canvas Studio will save your files as. I don't think you can change the format of the files. Let's see here. It's an MP4 right here. Yep.
Okay, and it'll include the audio.
It will include the audio, yeah. So if I just import it real quick here into Final Cut, it'll definitely include the audio track. Yeah, so this one is there, and then I don't know if this one actually I don't think had an audio track, but it will have the audio track included. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be super easy. So just let me know. I'd be curious to find out if it lets you share the collection with the whole class or if you have to type individual names. I'm hoping it'll just say your class under here.
Last spring, I had to use Dropbox to get the movie delivered to the students. And I was hoping that there'd be a way to do that through Canvas.
Yeah.
I would definitely try it today, upload everything into that folder or collection as they call it, and then do the share and see what it does. If it'll say your entire class. Yeah.
Is there a limit on how much I can load? Is there what do they call that? When how much space, how much memory? Is there a memory limit?
I believe it's unlimited. I think you're going to be okay. Yeah. Now, actually, one thing I just discovered, when you do this share, click on edit, because for some reason, you'll notice here, download is under the edit setting. If they view, they can only view it. So you need to have them download it, set it to edit, and then they're able to download the video. Yeah. So that's fine. Just be sure to click edit. I wouldn't think of downloading as editing, but that's, I guess, their catch-all for that set of features. I don't know. Yeah. But definitely, get back to me, because again, this is something I always say, like, issues you have. I'm never going to have a class where I would have students upload a set of videos. So unless I talk to Solange or someone else who's doing that, I would never have that situation. So just like this thing with Sue and Kata that came up, it's actually good for me to hear this. And if there's a resolution that you discover, if collections can be shared with your entire class, let me know, because I can then advise people in the future, hey, if you want to do this, the easiest way is to share it as a collection. Because Dropbox is a pain in the butt to use. I hate Dropbox. Yeah. You run out of room, and it's just total nightmare, different versions. And when my friend and I were working in this film, I was sending him my audio stuff on Dropbox, and it was awful. It just was not user-friendly. So I love Canvas Studio.
WeTransfer is another one, but you're very limited on how much memory you can upload. So
yeah, and before too long you run out of space. So, and they want you to pay for space because they're all corporations, and they're like, pay for extra space. I get it, but was this a Justin topic? I'm not sure. Next week we're talking about class deadlines. Was that something you suggested, Justin, or was that me?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, we'll talk about class deadlines next week, and I think the gist of it will be how do you set your assignment deadlines, like the practical stuff, but more maybe getting into how do you deal with late assignments? How do you deal with technology issues? How do you deal with deadlines being missed by students, kind of thing? It's something I continue to struggle with in my own classes. So, so we'll do that next week. As always, if any of you, whether participating live or watching the video, if you have topics to suggest, I'm happy to entertain those and put those out there. I think the more topics, the better. If you have ideas, and we'll schedule a talk. So, yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for indulging me today. I love technology, so I'm always happy if I can talk about technology with anyone available.